Hi, my name is Claudia. Welcome. You can find me on social media at I am Claudia Q, where I share all of the houseplant things. Today I'm going to be sharing how you can thrive with your houseplants all winter long. To briefly touch on why winter can be so challenging for houseplants, simply put, winter season, the cooler season, means less sunlight hours in the day. So whether your plants are outside full time, they only summered outside, or they're indoors all year long, the amount of natural light hours that they're getting in a day during winter versus what they got in the height of summer are significantly reduced. On average, we lose about 6 hours of daylight during winter time. I mean, I know that I get cranky during winter, my skin gets dry. Imagine how the plants feel. So light really is the #1 reason of why winter can be challenging. Of course, the extreme cold or the dry air are other factors as well, but really light is where it starts and the beginning of all sorts of issues that can happen. Plants will utilize water at a much slower rate. Depending on how much light they're getting and how needy they are for light, they may drop a ton of leaves. They simply can't sustain the plant. If the plant is now staying wet for too long, it can lead to fungus gnats or root rot. It just creates a ripple effect of situations that are not optimal for the plants. So light or lack of is really the #1 reason of why plants struggle so much during this season. So I'm going to go over the 5.5-ish main points that you need to know to adjust so that you can not only survive but thrive with your houseplants and keep them growing all winter long. As you may have guessed, the first thing is light. The most impactful thing that you can do for your plants this winter season is supplement light. Regardless of how much light you're getting indoors, how huge your window is, how beautifully unobstructed south-facing the window is, truth of the matter is daylight hours are shortened, as I was saying, so your plants will want more light. With that in mind, most of us don't have that beautiful unobstructed south-facing window to begin with. So imagine they're on an east window, a north window, they really need supplemental light so that they can continue to use their water efficiently, absorb their nutrients properly, sustain, and keep growing. I do have a video on all of my favorite grow lights, and I ranked them like best budget, best overall, best for individual plants, etc. So if you want to take a look, I don't know what area it's going to be, but I'll link the video here. But supplementing light is just the most effective thing that you can do for your plants. Your plants will be so much happier and you will too, promise. Other things that you can do to make sure that your plants are getting all the light or as much light as they can is you're going to want to clean your windows. I know that's not fun, but clean your windows and clean the foliage on your plants so they can absorb all of the light that they're getting. I'm going to show you here how much difference it can make just to clean your windows. To clean the foliage on your plants, you can use just soapy water, mild dish soap or Castile soap and water to clean them. Bless Your Soil has a great foliage cleaner. And the only other one I would recommend is Perfect Plantista, which is an insecticidal soap, so it could also be like preventative in case there's any pests or to treat them. Just quickly, some plant geniuses that absolutely want more light during winter are going to be ficus, Hoya, anything variegated. Off the bat, don't skip on those. Next, we're going to talk about water. Even if you do supplement light and they are getting sufficient light to keep growing, etc., they're still going to be using light at a much slower rate than they were during summer. And that's to do with the actual temperature in your house, humidity or dryness levels, and ultimately, grow lights, as great as they are, they're not the actual sunlight. So they are going to process water a lot slower. It is always my advice to not water on a schedule. Water when the plant needs it. Get to know your plants. Get to know their visual cues. Are they droopy? Are they curling? You can lift the pot, figure out the weight. I used bamboo skewers for a long time so that I could poke them in the soil and take a look and see if the soil was wet or not. And most recently started using a brass moisture probe that won't transfer pathogens or pests between plants, and you can sanitize in between if you need a little extra help in figuring out when a plant needs water. But just be mindful of that. Something that you were watering, for example, every week during summer, you can probably go up to 3 weeks during winter. So just keep that in mind. Your watering frequency is going to significantly reduce. Speaking of water, Keep fertilizing your plants. I hear way too often, stop fertilizing during winter, don't fertilize during winter, only fertilize spring and summer. I fertilize my plants year round. And as a basic rule of thumb, if your plant is actively growing, fertilize. It doesn't matter what time of year it is. In general, our house plants that are indoors have no idea whether it's winter, summer, whatever. So if your plant is happy and growing, it should definitely be fertilized. And even if they're not growing, I find that continuing to fertilize during winter makes their growth season, once spring comes, that much faster and better. I use Foliage Pro on all of my houseplants. It's a 936, so it's targeted towards larger, healthier foliage growth, which is most of what our houseplants are. It's safe to use every watering. I do 1 teaspoon per gallon of water. And with fertilizer, I'm also going to recommend Bug Hut Biologicals. Think of Bug Hut as like nutrient amendments or vitamins that are going to help the soil better absorb the fertilizer and use it efficiently to give you that big, healthy, beautiful plant. I specifically use their de-stressor, enhancer, and booster, and I will know exactly what each of those are for, but I've had a great experience with these biologicals. Particularly the de-stressor really helps against nature stress like drought, heat, cold, etc. And during winter, it's going to really help the plants continue to build those strong, healthy roots and grow for you. Next, we'll talk about heating and heating vents. Should go without saying, but don't place your plants directly in front of or in the pathway of heat. It can burn your plants. And then the bigger effect of heating is that it will dry out your air. Now, most houseplants can adapt pretty good to even lower levels of humidity, even like in the 30s. Anything below the 30s, they're really not going to be too happy. But think about what your humidity level has been during spring, summer. Was it in the 50s, 60s, and all of a sudden it's dropping to 30? So that is going to be adjustment. You may start to see some crisping or just overall unhappy-ish plants. With that, we'll go into humidity. I like to keep humidity for my plants at least 50%. And humidity in my space is usually between 55 and 65, which is fine. I don't need to run a humidifier. However, during winter, we can have pretty low humidity at times, which is odd because we're pretty close to the beach. So that's when I start using humidifiers to keep humidity at least a bit consistent or not dropping below 40. So humidifiers will aid with not showing signs of low humidity and then also may help prevent some pests. And we'll segue into that. I have 2 humidifiers at home that I love. The one I always recommend is Lavoie. It's good for like a 400 square foot room. So it's a pretty generous size of a space that it covers. It's super easy to clean. In fact, I don't even have to clean it very often. It's truly filterless. I never have to buy or replace anything for it to work. It's smart, so it can connect to your other smart home devices, and it has auto on and off features, which are super convenient. It does call for distilled water, and I made the choice at that point to just buy a water distiller so that I didn't have to keep buying jugs of distilled water, and that's worked great for me. The other one I have is the Dyson. It's an air purifier, humidifier, cool something. It's pretty expensive. It was definitely a splurge, but we keep that one in the bedroom. And just to note, I always say that humidifiers in my house are half for my plants and half for me because my allergies do not like dry air. And then lastly, keep an eye for pests. The 2 pests that love wintertime are fungus gnats, and that's because the soil is staying wet for longer periods of time. And spider mites love dry air. So to prevent that, I recommend obviously a humidifier. Keep the plants away from your furnace or furnace vents, and do preventative treatments with your foliage. I can link my DIY Pests Prevention spray that you can just spray your foliage. I do about once a month. And for the fungus gnats, there's quite a few things that you can do. I do a cup of hydrogen peroxide down our drains every week or so. The fungus gnats feed on the bacteria in our drains, which is disgusting, and they can come up through there. You can use sticky traps to catch the adults. I prefer the plug-in sticky traps with the UV light. to catch the adults. And then what's going to be really, really beneficial is to water your plants with a BTI bacteria that's going to end the life cycle of the gnat. And that's kind of it. I know that that was kind of a lot of information, but I really tried to keep it straight to the point, concise, and offer some solutions that you can do and try to make sure that you are preventing those kinds of issues that may come with wintertime. But please let me know if you have any questions or anything else that might pop up for you that you're unsure of, or things that you've tried that you have found helpful. I'd love to know. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. Hope you'll give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe so you can be notified when I upload new videos. Happy growing with your houseplants this winter. I got off the floor today in hopes that the dogs will leave me alone. They're already bothering me.